And not only live a quiet life, but it says to work with your hands. Mind your own business and work with your hands. And to me, that says to contribute, to work, to add something. And isn't it true that your daily life wins the respect of others? You know, right now I have a son who is just about 11 years old. And Aiden loves sports. He loves watching sports. He's excited about today's game. He's excited about watching games. And he's at this age where he's starting to pick up on certain players. He says, I really like this player, or I really like this player. So I asked him, I said, what is it you like about the player? You know, why are you a fan? Because he's run this many yards, he's so good, he did this and this. I said, well, what else do you know about him? Oh, not a lot. But he knows his stats. And it's interesting, and when you're young, I remember going through high school, knowing stats of certain baseball players, being really excited. When you get older, you stop noticing stats as much, and you start noticing things like, you start noticing when people get brawl on the field. You start noticing when you hear about somebody's character, when you hear about their life, you start noticing that. And of course, media makes a heyday out of these moments, because these people that we get excited about, what they're doing in their daily life doesn't amount to much. I mean, you see a lot of people actually in sports right now in deep trouble because their private life has hurt their career. The things they've done, actually taken several of them this year out of their career because of the choices they've made. Your daily life wins respect. And that's what verse 12, Paul says, you do this, you lead a quiet life, you mind your own business, and you work with your hands so that your daily life may win the respect of outsiders, and so that you'll not be dependent on anybody. Boy, if there isn't a better time for the church to win daily respect of outsiders, it's now. I mean, we're living in a day where the daily life of what has been called the church has hurt God's reputation time and time again. Because people that have been famous for big moments threw it away in their small moments. They threw it away in their daily life. And time again, you look and you say, how this can't be what God is about. And that's why so many people have said, God, save me from your followers. It's because they're looking and saying, what I'm seeing and what the gospel says isn't matching up. But friends, we have a choice of what we're going to do about that. We have a choice to not focus on man or a spotlight or an event or a moment, but rather to say, what about my daily life? What about who I am day by day? And John Maxwell said it great. He said this, that we overestimate the event and we underestimate the process. We underestimate the process. And we're looking for that big moment. But God's looking for every small moment to build. And those big moments take care of themselves when you're faithful in your daily life. Daily life can win the respect of outsiders. And I think about the sage poet of our day, Bon Jovi, who said these words, you give love a bad name. And he, of course, was using a little bit different context, but I think that they're good words to think about. Okay, I'll quote more of the poem for some of you that aren't familiar. Shot through the heart, and you are to blame. You give love a bad name. All right. Think about it, though, for a minute. Who is love? God. So the words can apply. I don't ever want to be known as giving love a bad name. I don't want the way I treat somebody to mar love's work. I don't want somebody that, when they think of me, I don't want it to put a bad shadow on Jesus. If anything, I want to give any credibility to the gospel and what Jesus wants to do in somebody else. Because they say, hey, his daily life's okay. But you know, we usually, and I thought about this, we usually want to be liked. Or we usually want to be known for something, or appreciated, or really idolized is the best word. We want others to think really well of us. So, you know, we try and be best at our best moments, but God has asked us just to be faithful in every moment. And people will think of us who we really are. Because who you really are will come out. So I don't want to give love a bad name. Now, if I could, just back up a little bit, because I thought of this, and I thought, it's sure easy for me to stand here and say, well, it's just about your daily life. Well, what our daily life will make the difference is. And I have to go back to Exodus 16 about this. And I'm just going to share some thoughts from it. But Exodus 16 in the Old Testament, to give you a quick synopsis, a man named Moses was called by God to go to the Israelites who were in slavery in Egypt, and to basically say, God's going to change things, and we're going to be free. And through some great things that God did, very powerful things, Israelites were set free. And they went into an area known as a wilderness, kind of a desert wandering, trying to get to a new land and a new life. And while they're on this journey of a new life, they begin complaining. They said, well, at least when we were in slavery, we had food. Now we're out here, we're going to die. We're starving. They started complaining. What happens in Exodus 16 is God provides them with a really interesting food. It's a food that he called manna, or they actually called manna. He said, I will basically drop some bread from heaven. Every day when they woke up, there was this dew-like substance on the ground, and when the dew went away, there was this kind of flaky bread. And they were commanded to each gather a certain amount for themselves. And they called it manna because manna actually translates, what is it? Because one day they're saying, we don't have any food. The next day there's all this food on the ground. And they're saying, what in the world? I've never seen food like this. So what is it? But they were told to gather. Now, interesting enough, they could only collect their daily amount. Except one day out of the week where they collected enough for 2 days because of the Sabbath. Because of what God was initiating, saying, to honor this Sabbath moment. But the rest of the days, they just could only collect for their day. And some people ignored that, and they tried to collect for more days. They said, well, no, we need to stock up because, we might need more later. What happened is the next day, the stuff they tried to collect extra was full of maggots, and it was rotten. One day. So they soon realized we can't do it that way, and they dumped it out. Now think of how great this applies to us spiritually. How many of you have ever tried to get all the manna you need on Sunday? Imagining somehow that it's going to last you all week. I give God my FaceTime on Sunday. Sean, he shares enough Bible verses that I imagine if I get 2 or 3, it's going to last me. Sometimes he makes sense, and so it might last 4 days. And I might open my notes and look at the Bible verse he said and read it again. But see, manna is for every day. And manna is bread from heaven. And what Jesus said later, he actually said it in John 6:35, is he said, I'm the bread of life. So now the true manna from heaven is here, and it's Jesus. But the concept is still the same, that every day we go to him. He's our daily bread. That's why we pray in Matthew 6:11, give us this day our daily bread. Why? Because Jesus is now the bread of life. We still find all that we need from God, but we find it every day. So why I encourage you with that is because I have been guilty of reading and just thinking, this is my time with God, and then become busy the rest of the week. Busy with myself. Really busy with myself. And I found myself feeling pretty wiped out. And I found myself really unfocused. And all kinds of things begin to develop in our mind. We feel distant, or we feel over-worried, or frustrated, or busy. And what happened is we thought we could collect enough manna for the week. But it's still daily, isn't it? It's every day that we go to God and say, give us this day our daily bread. Which is why Jesus taught us to pray for our daily bread. And say, God, give us what we need for the week, and I'll check that next Sunday when I have opportunity. No, this relationship is daily. Could you imagine wives if your husband said, well, I'm going to kiss you, because I know you want me to, and tell you I love you, and then I will see you next week.